Have you ever noticed that Disney stories rarely begin with characters who have everything figured out? They begin with dreamers. People searching for something bigger, such as a new horizon, a better future, and in many ways, that's also how America's story began. This year marks 250 years since the founding of the United States. And whether you realize it or not, some of Disney's most beloved stories reflect the same themes that have shaped America's story for generations, such as dreams, possibility, change, and the belief that tomorrow can be better than today. Hello and welcome back. You're listening to Jacob's Guest Lounge, stories behind the magic of Disney. And you are all my guests for today, so I want you all to pull up a chair in the lounge and we'll all dive into this exciting topic. Sometimes the stories that help us understand ourselves aren't always found in history books alone. Sometimes they're found in the stories that we keep returning to generation after generation. Disney stories are often about possibility. Characters setting out towards something they can't quite see yet. They have desire to go above and beyond to accomplish something greater than themselves. For example, Moana sets sail beyond the reef. Tiana builds a dream from the ground up. Rapunzel discovers a larger world once she leaves her tower, with help of Eugene, of course. And while each story is different, they all share a common idea. The future isn't something that you inherit. It's something that you create. You can also help create that, and this brings up the idea that has been part of America's story for 250 years. Not because the journey has always been easy, and certainly not because it has always been perfect, but because each generation has been asked to imagine what comes next, and then help write that next chapter. I want you to imagine America as a Disney character. Not a place, not a government, a character. Now let's also imagine watching that same character cross a 250-year story through victories, through setbacks, through moments of confidence, and moments of uncertainty, like any memorable character. The interesting part isn't where the story begins, it's how the character grows. For some of you that have watched Descendants, when Mal talks about the United States of Auradon, what was your guys' thoughts about all that? Did you guys like it or think it was corny? For me, I thought it was kind of catchy just because I think that was the first time that they've ever used a real-life country, but yet they've made it fictional at the same time. I thought it was pretty cool. Here's the other question I want to ask you guys. When you think about a great Disney story, what matters more? The opening chapter or who the character becomes by the end? And could the same idea apply to other nations? Besides the United States, of course. Many Disney stories revolve around a few timeless ideas, such as freedom, discovery, belonging, hope, and reinvention. And those themes appear throughout American history as well. The story of people arriving from different places, the story of communities being built, and the story of new ideas that shape the future. The story of continually asking what tomorrow could become is always the biggest topic that I like. And in that sense, Disney isn't just simply telling fantasy stories. It often tells stories built around values that have long been part of the American imagination. So imagine someone living 100 years from now. They're celebrating America's 350th birthday. They look back at our time the way we look back at earlier generations. What chapter title would they give this era? What challenges would they remember? What achievements would stand out? And what lessons would they carry forward? It also brings me to want to ask you all this while we're talking about that imagination. Would we look into the future with either uncertainty, or would we look at it with hope that we can still have the best of times to occur? Next question for everybody. If America's story is still being written, what theme do you think defines the next chapter? Would it be innovation, community, opportunity, discovery, or something else entirely? One reason Disney stories endure is that they remind us every story remains unfinished until the final page. And America's story is unfinished too. I do believe that America still has the best of its time to happen in the future, even though they may be uncertain, and sometimes the noise always tells us that it's bleak and it's chaotic and so on. I like to look at this with an optimistic eye and believe that the good times are still going to happen, and we have a lot to achieve, and we may overcome a whole lot along the way, but I like to let you all in on that positive belief, and I hope you all feel inspired by that. 250 years is an extraordinary milestone, but anniversaries aren't only about looking backward. They're about deciding what comes next. Every generation inherits a chapter, and every generation adds one of its own. So before you all go, I'd love to hear from you. There's a poll attached to this episode, so please be sure to vote. I love to hear from you all by commenting or emailing me, etc. And if you're listening somewhere without a poll, please just take a moment to think about your answer by leaving a comment. Because every great story is remembered, not only for what had happened, but for what it meant. 250 years, I think, in my opinion, would still be a legendary milestone and worthy of celebration, against all odds. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow the show so that you don't miss what's next. And if this show has meant a whole lot to you, please pass the word on to your friends, family, so that they all can get more of this episode and future episodes to come. Don't forget to tune in next Tuesday, because I will be talking about how to recognize social cues. They may be easy for everybody else, but they are harder for some people. And I got a little secret I'm going to share with you about that, so tune in and I'll tell you what that secret is. Until next time, keep the magic alive, and I'll see you all back here in the lounge.